Welcome. The Constitution of India is designed to protect a sovereign, democratic republic. But what happens when the nation faces extraordinary crises, like war, internal breakdown, or severe economic collapse? Today, we will dissect Part 18 of the Indian Constitution, exploring Articles 352, 356, and 360, and examining how historical lessons engineered robust safeguards to prevent their misuse. In normal times, India operates as a federal system. The union and states act as independent, parallel pillars sharing governance load. However, unlike rigid federations, India's constitution contains a built-in override switch. As Dr. B.R. Ambedkar famously noted, the Indian constitution is federal during peacetime, but becomes unitary during an emergency. Part 18 provides the precise legal mechanisms to centralize power when national integrity or stability is threatened. Let's analyze the core structure comparing these three mechanisms. Article 352 governs national emergency for war, external aggression, or armed rebellion, requiring parliamentary approval within 1 month by a special majority. Article 356 covers state emergency, triggered by a breakdown of constitutional machinery, needing simple majority approval within 2 months. Article 360 covers financial emergency, requiring simple majority approval within 2 months. While national and financial emergencies can run indefinitely via periodic renewals, state emergency caps out at 3 years under strict conditions. Article 352 has been invoked 3 times in Indian history, twice for external aggression in 1962 and 1971, and once under the controversial ground of internal disturbance in 1975. When active, it triggers an absolute executive shift. The centre can issue executive directions to any state and parliament gains sweeping powers to legislate on state list subjects. Politically, it also allows the tenure of the Lok Sabha to be extended by 1 year at a time, as was done during the 5th Lok Sabha in 1976-1977. To prevent arbitrary declarations, strict procedural tollgates now exist. A national emergency requires a written recommendation from the cabinet, not just the Prime Minister. Once proclaimed by the President, both houses of Parliament must approve it within 30 days using a special majority, that is, 2/3 present and voting, plus an absolute majority of total membership. Once approved, it remains active for 6 months and must pass this parliamentary tollgate indefinitely for each extension. Crucially, the Lok Sabha holds a failsafe. A simple majority vote in the Lok Sabha can revoke the emergency immediately, and 1/10 of its members can force a special session within 14 days to vote on revocation. How does a national emergency affect citizen freedoms? Under Article 358, Article 19 freedoms automatically suspend, but only if the emergency is declared due to war or external aggression. If declared due to armed rebellion, Article 19 remains locked as protected. Under Article 359, the President may selectively suspend the right to approach courts for other fundamental rights. However, Articles 20 and 21 protecting against arbitrary conviction and guaranteeing the right to life and personal liberty can never be suspended under any circumstances. Article 356 governs state emergencies, commonly known as President's Rule. It operates through 3 linked provisions. Article 355 establishes the Union's duty to protect states and ensure constitutional governance. Article 356 provides the subjective trigger when the President is satisfied that state machinery has failed. Article 365 provides the objective trigger when a state refuses to comply with central executive directions. Upon declaration, the State Council of Ministers is dismissed, the governor takes over executive control, and the State Assembly is either suspended or dissolved. Historically, Article 356 has been one of the most controversial provisions in the Constitution, invoked over 120 times since inception. Uttar Pradesh and Bihar lead in frequency, while Kerala, Punjab, Odisha, and Manipur form the high-frequency bracket. Duration extremes include Punjab during its militancy crisis, and Jammu or Kashmir, where President's rule remained active for a staggering 2061 continuous days between 1990 and 1996. To stop political misuse, the Supreme Court delivered the landmark S.R. Bommai judgment in 1994. It instituted 3 strict checkpoints. First, the decision must be backed by objective material evidence. Political malafide is strictly rejected. Second, a government's majority must be tested on the floor of the House, not in the governor's office. Third, the State Assembly cannot be dissolved until Parliament formally approves the proclamation. If a proclamation fails judicial review, courts have the power to restore the dismissed state government and reactivate the Assembly. Article 360 covers financial emergency, the absolute fiscal control reserved for grave economic threats. In its arsenal, the Union can slash salaries of public servants, including Supreme Court and High Court judges, unilaterally reduce central tax revenue shares to states, and mandate that all state money bills be reserved for presidential approval. Notably, its historical frequency is zero. Even during India's severe balance of payments crisis in 1991, Article 360 was never invoked. The 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978 fundamentally re-engineered emergency provisions to patch vulnerabilities exploited during 1975. It replaced the vague ground of internal disturbance with armed rebellion. It mandated written cabinet approval, ending unilateral executive decisions. It instituted mandatory 6-month parliamentary renewals, and permanently protected Articles 20 and 21 from suspension under any circumstances. The true strength of the Indian Constitution's emergency framework no longer lies merely in its ability to centralize power during a crisis. Instead, its modern resilience comes from these battle-tested safeguards, crafted by the 44th Amendment and the S.R. Bommai judgment, ensuring that absolute power can save the Republic without destroying its democracy. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment if you enjoyed this quick revision.